We've got a new addition in our blueberry bed. We've talked about rabbit-eye blueberries a few times before. They're more readily adapted down to southeast Oklahoma. Up in this neck of the woods in north central Oklahoma, it's not really certain that it's going to survive. They're not as cold hardy as the regular high bush blueberry. They're pretty much of a gamble up here, but we thought we'd give them a try. Now, rabbit-eye blueberries need cross-pollination, so you need 2 varieties. And you may look like we only have 1 plant, but since we only had space for 1 plant, well, we put 2 separate varieties. This is Brightwell, this one is Tiff Blue, side by side in this one spot, so we'll get kind of it'll look like half of one bush is one variety and half of the bush is the other variety, but in reality, we'll have 2 bushes. It'll save space, but we're going to have to be real careful when we're pruning that we don't prune out all of the Brightwell and leave ourselves without any cross-pollination. There's a few flowers on it that we'll pick out. So far, it looks like it's got a good start. We'll see what happens next winter. That'll be what's really tell if it'll make it through the winter. Our high bush blueberries, they're growing. A lot of the blossoms made it through the frost with no problem, but we're going to have to do something that probably sort of breaks my heart to do. And if you've got blueberries that are under 4 years of age, you're going to have to do, let's pick off all of these flower clusters. This is the real hard part over here. They've actually set some fruit. You want to pick those off. The blueberry plant, especially when it's young, doesn't have a lot of reserves, not a lot of leaf area to provide energy. Leaving these fruit on, those fruit require quite a bit of energy to develop and grow and turn sweet. And that competes with growth. If you leave this fruit on, what you will get is much poorer growth. What we're looking for on these young bushes is to get them to a large size so we can get higher production as quickly as possible. By leaving that fruit on, we'd get some fruit earlier, but we would delay the growth of it so much that in just a few years, it would be very stunted compared to one that we took and removed the blossoms from. High bush blueberries are very slow growing anyway, and we don't want to delay the growth any more than we have to. One other thing about our high bush blueberries that you'll notice, they're kind of a palish green. We've put down new wood chip mulch this spring, and we put on some extra nitrogen for it in addition to what we put down for the blueberries, but it's apparently tying up a lot more of the nitrogen than we planned on. So we're going to come back just later today and give it a little extra shot of nitrogen, try and get a little bit better green color out of it. If you see very pale green color, it's usually nitrogen deficiency, and it means that your plants need a little bit more of a boost, especially if you have wood chip mulch that will tie up nitrogen. Suspect that you're running into a little bit of a deficiency.
Well, our Mars grapevine is really growing well. Now, Mars is one of the seedless grape releases from University of Arkansas and very well adapted to Oklahoma. Very, very vigorous too. If you look up and down this trunk, this vine's just 2 years old. I took a cutting from it from a planting down at Bixby, and it's doing quite well. We have a nice, strong trunk developing, but there are a few things we need to do. Down here at the base, we have some new shoots coming up, and those will weaken the plant. So you want to take those out and keep them cut out through the summer because they will continue to come out. And then if you look along the trunk, we have some side shoots coming out. Those are coming out way too low to do us any good. You can just rub those off. There are a couple more right here too. Now up here, there's a new shoot coming out, and I'm going to leave that in place because it might potentially be a cane that could be trained along the wire for next year's growth. So we'll leave it in place for a little while, although it is a bit low for that use. Now if you look along the canes that we left last winter when pruning, these are 1-year-old canes, and they are producing new shoots and flower clusters. These clusters haven't opened yet, but when they do, we're going to come back to the vine and probably remove half of the clusters. That's one secret to getting nice large clusters of grapes, is to do what's called cluster thinning. Because sometimes on a young vine like this, it has far more flowers on it than it has the capability to bear fruit. So take half the clusters off, just pinch them off once they start to bloom, and you can get larger size on them.
What you're looking at is our tayberries. This is their third growing season, their second fruiting season. These canes, I should say, it would have been their second fruiting season. If you remember a couple winters back, the winter before this last one, we had quite a bit of winter damage on most of the canes, and most of the canes didn't make it. So late last fall, early winter, we mulched several of the canes underneath our wood chips to give them protection from the severe winter cold. And what you can see is a very graphic illustration. Whatever you see that has green leaves on it was underneath the mulch. These dead canes, those were exposed to the winter temperatures, and they are totally and completely dead. There will be no fruit on those at all. What it seems to be looking like, the tayberry, what fruit we did have last year, was excellent quality. It had a very nice raspberry flavor, very good quality, very productive, but it is going to be winter tender in Oklahoma. At least that's what it looks like for the 2 seasons we've had. If you're going to put it in, you're just going to have to count on there being winter damage and give those canes some protection. Put them down on the ground each fall, cover them up with some sort of mulch to keep them protected. Otherwise, you probably won't get any fruit.
We hope you enjoyed this video. It's part of our OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel. You can also find more recent videos on our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.